And thank you for joining us. The program is Black America. I'm Carol Jenkins. And our topic today is Black America and the political process. Here to guide us through the current election, the Obama administration, and what the future holds is Bob Herbert, Distinguished Senior Fellow at Demos, a research and policy center here in New York. Bob is also the moderator of Bob Herbert's Op-Ed TV, a weekly interview program right here on CUNY TV. And for almost 20 years, he was an op-ed columnist at the New York Times, writing, and it's so hard to believe this, piercing commentary twice a week for 20 years. You're a machine, Bob.
A machine.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for being here today.
Too many years on deadline, it addles your brain.
And I think a total of 50 years altogether in the business.
Close to it.
Incredible.
Close to it.
Well, we're going to talk about all of that and the things that you're doing, but I always ask my guests to start with placing yourself in Black America. Where did you grow up? Who were the early influences? How did you get to become Bob Herbert?
You know, it's funny, people love to stereotype you, so when I became a reporter, I was the reporter who covered the mean streets of New York and that sort of thing, you know, and in fact, I grew up in the suburbs in New Jersey, in Montclair, New Jersey, and my parents were upholsterers. My father had an upholstery shop, my mother was a seamstress, and, you know, it was just your typical suburban town. Part of my family was African American that had come up from the South, from Virginia, and that's my mother's side. And my father's side was Caribbean American from Barbados. So I had both sides in the family. But when I went to school, I went to parochial school. It was almost an all-white school, and it wasn't really until when I was just about starting high school that I started hanging out with Black kids from public school in Montclair, basically to have more of a social life, to tell you the truth.
Sure.
So that was
so all of this is
growing up background.
Right, taking place in Montclair, New Jersey.
Yeah, but it was taking place against the backdrop of the civil rights movement. I mean, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, so we were quite aware of what was going on in the news. So you had the demonstrations, and you had Birmingham, and by the time I was in my teen years, you had the 4 girls who were killed in the bombing at 16th Street Baptist Church, you know. So my family was always like not just cued in, but felt very strongly about all those issues. About
all of that. And yet you, Devil May Care, were offered a scholarship to college and hid it from your parents?
These things slip out, yeah. When I was in high school, it really was kind of a Devil May Care existence. I think it was easier to be a young person in those days than it is now. So I had a Thunderbird in high school. Thought that I was going to be.
So you really were a middle-class kid, right? In suburban New Jersey, driving a Thunderbird.
Yeah, and thought.
Would love to have seen that, Bob.
There are pictures, but we try to keep them hidden. Thought that I was going to be a disc jockey, and so I was thinking about cars, girls, and rock and roll. So when I got this scholarship, I hid it from my parents. I was tired of school, hid it from my parents, got a job driving a truck delivering auto parts where I could listen to music in the truck.
Your passion,
I was having a great time. And then when I was 19, I opened my own upholstery shop. And so what happened, I didn't go to college. I ended up getting drafted.
Uncle Sam got you.
So I was in the Army.
Taught you a little lesson there.
I was in the Army for 2 years when everyone else was going to Vietnam. And I thought that I was going to go to Vietnam. But just luck of the draw, I got sent to Korea.
Wow. And so now how did you get back to school and into journalism? Was that like, you know, Devil May Care too?
No, I was a little less Devil May Care. The 60s were the 60s, and it was a great time to be around, to be coming of age, but it was also a tough period. Friends of mine were killed in Vietnam. Sure. Another friend of mine was killed in the Newark riots in 1967. Issues became very serious. I was somewhat more mature than I was in high school, and I figured I better get my act together. So I started, I got a job at the Star-Ledger as a reporter in Newark, and then started going to school at the same time. Ultimately got a journalism degree, but ended up having a wonderful career in journalism.
So that was the way a lot of us came into the news business, right after the riots, during and after the riots. So you, that was the beginning of the 50-year span of covering everything from civil rights to
Oh, yeah. One of the things that I was so fortunate in my career. The first two newspapers I worked at were the Star Ledger in Newark and then the Daily News here in New York City, which is
of course.
where I was when I met you.
Right.
But you were just thrown into the mix in those days, and you had to cover every kind of story. So it might be a civil rights demonstration one day, but then it's a homicide the next day. But then you might find yourself covering a criminal trial or politics or a campaign, and so you got the whole mix, and it really prepared you well for later in your career when you got more important or more serious or more responsible position. So by the time you became an editor and ultimately, in my case, became a columnist, you really had a strong background in covering the news.
Which you used so well, and you informed all of us for so long. We thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So as we record this show, we are in the middle of probably the craziest primary season that I can remember. And, you and I both covered politics for many, many years. Do you agree that this is probably the most insane?
I have never seen anything like this. And I thought I had seen it all, because you're right. We've seen crazy stuff. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. Yeah.
So now it seems as if Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are going to compete against each other in November for this election. Talk to us about how that happened. I mean, that Donald Trump, as many people know, has no political experience. I suppose he's got a year of it now, and he's doing very well with it. How do we get here?
Well, the starting point, I think, is our whole fascination with celebrity. And so I think that goes not just to Trump, but also to Hillary Clinton as well. Trump was a surprise. People did not think Trump was going to emerge as the nominee for the Republicans. But with Hillary, Democrats didn't even think Bernie Sanders was going to emerge. I mean, the whole idea with the Democrats was that Hillary Clinton was going to be the nominee. They were anointing her from Jump Street. And it seems to me that the only reason to do that, even though she's very experienced and has been around a long time, is the fact that she was outside of Obama, she was the biggest celebrity among the Democrats. And we tend to focus on...
Or some would say the most experienced.
No, she is, and she's absolutely qualified to be president. But why would a party have just one person that they're anointing? Generally, you have a campaign with a number of people, and the Democrats did not intend to do that.
Yeah, well, some would say that the Democrats hadn't properly built a bench.
I think that was because they were deterred by Hillary Clinton. Everybody thought Hillary was going to be the nominee, that no one else had a chance, and I think that was because she was far and away the best-known Democrat.
So now we have this scenario, Donald Trump.
So the Republicans were not doing that.
Yeah.
They didn't think Trump was going to emerge. But Trump is the same thing. He was the biggest celebrity in the Republican pack. He wasn't the best politician. He certainly wasn't the best qualified person to be the nominee. But I think it was his celebrity status that drove it.
And Bernie Sanders, this sort of outside activist, let's tear the place down, and I'm exaggerating, but he called for revolution.
Right.
So is that where we are as a country, that Donald Trump essentially saying the same thing? Nothing's working. We have to start over again.
Well, I think Trump may be saying that. I'm not sure that's exactly what Bernie is saying. When Bernie says revolution, he doesn't really mean a revolution. He means a different kind of politics. The truth is, Bernie Sanders calls himself a socialist, but he's not really a socialist. I mean, what Bernie is a very liberal Democrat, which is what I've been looking for, actually, in a candidate. And so Bernie says that the Democratic Party should be significantly to the left of where it's been, especially since the Clinton years. Mm-hmm. And he did very well there. I do think that both Trump and Sanders have done as well as they've done because there's been such disarray, especially economically, among working people in America. People have had a hard time. We've had the worst economic situation since the Depression, and many, many Americans have not yet recovered. And I do think that the system is not working for ordinary Americans now. And the question becomes, how do you revamp it or overhaul it? I think Americans are not yet interested in replacing it.
So, one of the factors that's evolved in this current election season is the African American vote, particularly the Black American, the Black woman vote, which is extraordinary. Right. I mean, they are credited as being the ones who put Barack Obama in office twice, right. And now are solidly behind, so it would seem, Hillary Clinton. Right. What do you think is behind that? Is that the loyalty payback for her Obama time, or are there genuine roots of Black support for the Clintons somewhere in there, despite the crime bill?
I think, and what they did with welfare.
Exactly.
And a number of other,
exactly. Yes, there are a few issues, outstanding issues.
Yeah, I would say that on race issues, the Clintons are problematic. And there are a lot of African Americans who recognize that. On the other hand, African Americans have traditionally been the most loyal Democratic voters in the country. And of course, they overwhelmingly support President Obama. And you're absolutely right. It's the Black vote that's primarily responsible for putting him in office and re-electing him 4 years later. I think that a lot of people, while they recognize the importance of voting in presidential elections and will turn out for an Obama, and they have turned out for Bill Clinton in the past, for example, I think that many people, Black and white, don't understand how important it is to vote in years other than presidential elections and in elections other than presidential elections. So Obama gets elected in 2008, stirring victory, huge triumph. But the Democrats just got killed by the Republicans in the off-year elections of 2010. Then Obama's reelected in 2012. 2014, Republicans triumph again. So they end up with control of both houses of Congress. They end up with control of too many state legislatures, and then those legislatures begin gerrymandering to make it more difficult to make up the gains that you've lost. So I've been going around giving speeches trying to tell people that we want you to be engaged. Activism is really important, but it's essential that you vote, and that you vote in off-year elections, that you vote in state and local elections. I'm trying to get that message out.
Well, and so it may be at the root cause for so many people being disappointed in Barack Obama. He really didn't have a Congress that could help him with anything that he wanted to do, and so there is this feeling that he has somehow failed by many people, even in Black America, and that especially Black Americans did not prosper under his administration.
There is some disappointment with President Obama, but it's a really complicated issue. An awful lot of people are very proud of Obama, and an awful lot of people, Black and white, think that he has done a really good job under awful circumstances.
Healthcare.
There's no question about it. Yeah. Healthcare. He took over at a time when we're in the worst economic collapse since the Depression.
Save the auto industry.
Yeah, he kept us out of a depression, saved the auto industry. He's gotten the official unemployment rate down. It's hovering around 5% now. As you point out, we have the healthcare law. He had many successes.
Cuba.
Right,
Iran.
Kept us out of any new wars.
Right.
I mean, and he did all of this, again, as you pointed out, in the face of this absolute hostility from the Republican Party. So on the one hand, you say, well, it's remarkable that he was able to achieve as much as he has. But then there's the point about, well, did he do enough for working people? Did he do enough for African Americans? Did he do enough for poor people? And I think that even in the face of the opposition from the Republicans, which I think has been horrible. I mean, I think reprehensible. I think that he could have done more, and I think that he could have, or I might have wished that he would have fought back harder against the GOP, because it became pretty clear early on that they were not going to cooperate in any way at all.
Well, I think, but then people expected him to be the one who compromised, who extended a hand, and that didn't get him very far at all.
Yeah,
So
he was trying to compromise. He did
you have to give him
extend his
credit
hand.
for that early part,
Yeah.
and then I think he realized, or it seemed that he realized it, and it was true that nothing was going to happen, and we
Right.
see that even now with his Supreme Court nominee.
Yeah.
But what do you think should happen there? Will
Well,
happen?
the Republicans should do what they are constitutionally obliged to do, and that is to seriously consider this appointment of Judge Garland, seriously consider this appointment, and then have a vote on it. And since they're already on record saying that he is like a highly qualified judge, there's no reason to shoot down this nomination. So they should have hearings, they should have a vote, and this man should be placed on the Supreme Court. And the only reason they're not doing it is, well, it's politics, obviously, but it's specifically because of Barack Obama.
And should Hillary Clinton win, do you think that she should keep him as the nominee? Because there are some who say he's a little too middle of the road.
Right. I would have preferred a more liberal justice, no question about it. The Republicans have suggested an interesting strategy. I don't know if they'll follow through on it or not. They're saying if a Democrat wins, in this case, it looks like it would be Hillary. If Hillary Clinton were to win, they might vote to place him on the court in the period after the election, before Hillary takes office. If that were to occur, would Hillary Clinton, I have no idea how she feels about him, but if she wanted a more liberal justice, would she ask him to withdraw his name from nomination?
Can you imagine
That's what
her
I would
saying,
do.
Right, that's what you would do. Can you imagine she would say, "Excuse me, sir"?
But but Barack Obama would still be president. So what would Barack Obama do?
Exactly. Interesting.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
even if Garland is not placed on the court, let's say Hillary's elected and takes office, would she continue with his nomination? I don't know. It's a very good question.
So we've got some interesting times.
Yeah.
And if Donald Trump should be the president, we're in for a very interesting time here. But
Well, if he becomes president, this Supreme Court nomination might be the least of our worries.
so let's take a look. You've written 2 books, and in Losing Our Way, you talk about the almost crumbling of America
Right.
in so many ways. And you start out, I love the book because you start out with this horrific story of a woman who's driving her car across a bridge in Minnesota
Right.
when it collapses, and she goes down 8 stories,
Yep.
manages to survive this. But it was a metaphor for so many other things about this country simply not working. We're not taking care of our infrastructure, and that in many cases, Black Americans suffer most from this. Katrina, and now we have Flint. Talk with us a little bit about.
Yeah, I think you're right. The infrastructure is literally crumbling, but it is a metaphor for so many other things that have gone wrong in this country. Public education is in a really sorry state. We've mentioned that the economy is not working for a lot of people, maybe not working well for most Americans. Black Americans are suffering. We have too many people who are mired in poverty, kids growing up in poverty, and we can't seem to figure out a way to work our way out of these difficulties. I mean, I think that one of the things we could do is you could have a stock transactions tax, a very modest tax that wouldn't hurt anyone, but it would raise tons of money. And you could use that money to begin rebuilding the infrastructure, a Rebuild America plan that would put tons of people to work. And once you start putting people to work, it begins to solve many of your other problems. Obviously, it addresses the issue of poverty, but it helps with health care because many jobs have health insurance coverage. It makes it easier for parents to be able to send their kids to college, So, and that's just one example, but we have not seemed to be able to get past square one on a lot of these issues.
Yeah, and you say it's the most insidious and the most resistant to, as you say, healing.
Yeah.
Getting to this idea.
Yeah.
But most people think that people have recovered from the 2008 collapse.
Yeah, and that's so not true. So even though the unemployment rate is very low by historical standards, a lot of people who are actually unemployed are not counted as unemployed because they've become discouraged, stopped looking for work. And then for African Americans, historically, the unemployment rate is twice that of whites anyway. So if the overall unemployment rate is 5%, the African American rate is very close to 10%. And then if you start talking about young African American men and teenagers especially, you have staggeringly high unemployment rates, sometimes approaching 50%.
Yeah, and let's just talk a little bit about the media responsibility for that, because I know that at Demos you write about that. That's what Demos is all about. That equality. In your think tank, and you did it for many years. But do you think that we as journalists are holding up our end of telling this story?
No, not at all. I think journalism, and I have tended not to beat up on the press and on media in general. I've had a great career, so have you had a great career, but I think that we've really fallen down in the press. We haven't told a correct story about the economic state of this country. We certainly haven't told anything like the correct story about what goes on with African Americans in this country. Race is such a huge problem now, and people want to pretend that it's not. Obama gets elected in 2008, and suddenly we're hearing all about, we're in this post-racial period and that sort of thing. And absolutely not. You have the killings in Charleston. You have what went on in Flint. You have the continuing economic problems that disproportionately hurt African Americans. There's so much. And then you have still just the racism, discrimination in employment, discrimination in housing, disproportionately poor schools in African American neighborhoods.
And some would say discrimination in the media as well. That we're
no question, no question.
And that perhaps that's at the root of why these stories don't get told.
I think that's true. So the people who, especially the people who are making the decisions in media, they're in a different socioeconomic group, a higher socioeconomic group. They're in a different racial group, and they are not paying attention to these issues that you're talking about, or to the folks that you're talking about.
So interesting that that at the New York Times, they've had to admit we're doing it all wrong, and somebody help us.
Well, the Times is the Times has a reputation of being such a liberal paper, which I think is interesting. The Times is your essential establishment paper in this country, as far as I'm concerned, and it's a national paper even more than it's a New York City paper. But if you look at the makeup of the New York Times, where are the black reporters?
Sure.
Where are the black columnists? Where are the black editors? Very few. The top editor at the Times for the first time is an African American, but then once you get past that,
and he's the one who had to make the apology. Oops.
Once you get past
doing a bad job.
there's just not that much. There's just not that much there.
Right.
And that's the New York Times. So what about all these other publications?
I know. Now you're working on a documentary about Black America, the Black
middle class. Yeah.
Middle class. Tell us a little bit about that. For
This
PBS,
is for PBS. We're actually a little behind schedule, but now we should have this thing done by June. It's really about how difficult it was to establish a black middle class in this country, and why it's so hard to sustain a black middle class standard of living. And I think that it'll be eye-opening in the sense that I think people don't understand the extent of the discrimination, the job discrimination, the housing discrimination. So you don't have a good job, you can't build wealth with your housing, the discrimination when it came to education and that sort of thing. So it's been very, very difficult.
Yeah, and the fact that recently the children of middle-class Black Americans have fallen out of that middle class status,
And that's primarily because African Americans don't have the kind of wealth that you pass on to the next generation to give them a real boost when they're trying to get a start in life. Yeah.
yes, and I know you're going to include the fact that it was the federal government that created all of that.
Oh,
that
my
it was.
goodness. They were
all of those pretty houses and those developments that blacks were excluded from. You could not.
They were when they were developing those suburbs,
Right.
and I was growing up when that was happening. Blacks were excluded from the suburbs; they couldn't live there, and also they had the national highway, the interstate highway network, which made those suburbs possible, which had tons of job creation.
Right.
You couldn't get in the construction trades so that you could participate in the jobs. You couldn't do the building of the houses. Blacks were just shut out
shut
from
out.
all of that, which helped to create the white middle class in this country.
Exactly. Well, we'll be watching your documentary.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bob. Before you go, I always ask my guests to finish this sentence for me. The strength, the power of Black America lies in.
I think it lies in the fact that no matter what gets thrown up in the face of African Americans, no matter what kind of barriers you're confronted with, African Americans never quit. They just keep trying to blast through those barriers. You blast through one and there's another, and you don't give up. You say, we just got to keep on keeping on.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you,
It's been
Carol.
a pleasure after not meeting you in the streets covering a story, but
Exactly.
sitting in chairs all this time. And you can see Bob's show several times a week right here on CUNY TV. That's his op-ed show. It's fascinating. He does a lot of women, too. That's great. And thank you all for being with us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The show is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.